flowers bloom in spring. Tell me who gives the air that you breathe. Ooh. Everything that you need he will provide. So you may as well come on and give him a try. 'Cause he's awesome. Ooh, he's awesome. He's awesome. What would I do without him? Couldn't make a move without him. And I don't wanna be without him. He's awesome.
Greetings, people of God. Welcome to ZMR Ministries. I'm Pastor Z, and thank you for joining me for another episode of What's the Issue Wednesday. Now, today's issue, I'm enjoying this topic. It's very informational and it's needed. It's called Myeloma, My Life. And we're going to be talking with someone who's actually diagnosed with myeloma, which is a form of cancer. And she's going to be talking about her journey. She's going to be talking about the symptoms, the treatment, and the mental and emotional roller coaster that you will actually go through when you are diagnosed with cancer. So please, without further ado, help me welcome my special guest, Miss Telly James. How you doing, Telly? Hey. Look, y'all, look at her mask. Isn't she jazzing it out? You know what? I've been knowing Telly for a long time, right? And she's just a couple of years older than me, but we grew up in the same church. And she was older than us, but when I tell you we used to look up to her, it was like a clique of them, and one of them was her sister, and baby, they was just fresh all the time. Their hair was laid, she kept it cute, and I was just like, she's so cool.
Thank
so
you,
cool.
Thank you,
and you know what? And she's still the same way. So this conversation right here is personal. It's not just information to me. It really is like from a sister, friend, and loved one. So I'm so glad that you agreed to sit with me. Now, cancer. You know, that's a big word, especially, you know, when you are the one hearing it saying, hey, you are now diagnosed with cancer, you have cancer. Walk me through that day.
Well, on that day, which was just one day for me, the beginning of 2012, in January of 2012. Even before that, 2011, probably around springtime, I had been going through the motions of, you know, just in pain and being young, you know, like you said,
Right.
Young ladies, I'm 45, 45.
Right.
So when I was diagnosed, I was 37, so that's young.
And I'm 38. So,
Exactly.
So this is hitting close.
Exactly. And so, I had already been in pain for a year or so, leading up to then. So I thought I was having pain in the center of my chest real bad. Like somebody was just in there wringing a towel out, excruciating pain. So, with me in and out of ERs, different ERs, emergency rooms, throughout Dallas, after a while I just thought it was my heart. And I was like, oh, am I dying? You know, my heart, they saying nothing's wrong.
Right.
All kind of tests coming back, you know, negative for anything wrong. So they like, you young, you good. But anyway, I developed a lump in my chest, and in 2012 of January, they did a biopsy at the VA of all places. You know, a lot of people shun the VA because, especially for something serious, they shun it because, you know, a lot of people end up sick or dead, sicker than they was when they come in or dead in any hospital, especially at the VA. And so they did a biopsy and found out that it was before that it was plasmacytoma, which is like a precursor to what I have now as a survivor, which is multiple myeloma. So that day, they, you know, did the biopsy. I think I came back in maybe a week or less, and told me it was cancer. Cancer, you know.
Right.
So, I just took it, you know, like, okay, what's the next step?
Right. So, for you, it was like, okay, you're telling me I have multiple myeloma.
You know what? We can shorten it to myeloma because
myeloma.
Yeah. That's what they call it for sure.
Right. So you have myeloma. You know, what were your thoughts in that moment? Because some people, you know, that I've talked to, and they're like, when a doctor came back in the room and said it's cancer, they're like, I'm devastated. It's like I saw my life flash before my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. It's doomed. And then some people were like, you know, immediately I didn't receive it. You know, my faith was over here, and I was like, I'm gonna do what I need to do, but I'm gonna believe I'm healed. You know, and things like that. What was your initial thoughts in that moment?
Sort of like that last one that you mentioned. I'm telling you first. I'm meeting myself first.
Right.
Before you tell me I have anything.
So it doesn't define you.
Exactly. So it didn't define me.
Right.
And I'm telling you first. And so since I'm me first, like I said, it didn't define me. It didn't take away that I'm always been a person that don't mind. I always take everything with a grain of salt. There can't not much move me. Like you said, my faith in God and just knowing, hey, I didn't never not want the treatment. A lot of people do that too.
Right.
Where they don't want no chemo, they don't want no radiation. Hey, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die or not,
Right.
So I had the faith, but also the faith in God that whatever was next, that He would allow my body enough strength to take it.
Right.
And whatever was next, I could get the ball rolling. And even with the VA, they wanted to roll the ball like a month away. I called for the radiation treatment because that's how I started out. And they wanted to start a month away, so I ended up at UT Southwestern, which I'm at now. I love UT Southwestern. So
I heard you say that some people here, they say, I'm not taking the chemo, I'm not doing any of that radiation. If I die, I die. And I've heard so many people say that, and I also went to their funerals. And I've seen people who say that, and they actually survived it. When did you make that decision to go through chemo and radiation out of wisdom, or was it just positivity in your stride? Like, you know what, if this is gonna work, it's worth a try. I'm gonna do what the doctor's telling me, but at the end of the day, my faith is what's gonna sustain me.
Exactly. I can say I had faith in God first, faith in myself next, and that God would give the doctors the faith,
the wisdom.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Guide their hands, guide their minds.
Yeah.
Guide me. And baby, and that's myself is when I experienced God for myself when I started with mine. So that's a plus.
Yeah.
In it all.
So it brought you closer to Him.
Exactly. Real close, ain't
it? Well, we know with serious diagnosis like that, it affects you initially, but of course it affects everybody around you, your loved ones, your children, if there's a spouse, your parents, things of that nature. Now, I know you have girls, those beautiful girls, and they just like their mama, y'all. They so cool, right? But how did it affect them when you had to go and tell them, look, I have cancer? What was that conversation like, and how did they take it?
I believe that the one time when I mentioned it the first time, because I'm not for sure. I know my youngest daughter was 8, and my oldest was 15. So I figured, 15-year-old, she only had a couple more years, so she's long. She kind of, can take her, more so than the little one. But the little one was 8, and I felt that I owed her, life with her mom. I felt like I owed her to let her know and to take it real slow with her. But when I let them two know, the oldest, she teared up a little bit. I think the youngest may have teared up, but I don't remember that. But because the youngest was so strong, and still to this day, she's 16 now, and she's really so strong. But when I told them, I sat them down or whatever at the dining room table, and I let them know. And, let them know they didn't have nothing to fear. Nothing, no reason to be sad. And this is mama's journey. Don't feel like
it's your burden to bear.
Yes. So don't feel like you got to bear a burden or that your life is going to be different because, mama's going through something. Whatever you have going on in school, whatever you have going on anywhere, let me know it's like nothing's changed. Don't be slow about what you want to do or whatever, because if need be, I would go with them still, as long as I was able to. But if need be, I had a few people that could step in to help them out. But other than that, my girls, they took it kind of, sort of, I don't know, kind of just like me.
A trooper.
A trooper, yes, especially that little one. Mm-hmm. The oldest, even though she's not a playful kind of person like me or whatever, she's not a people person. So she is how can I say, kind of timid. So, she ain't gonna let you know a lot until whenever she feels like it. But that little one, honey, she just like me, and she's like, Mama, we got this and everything. And so the one that I was worried about, God had already went before me on that one. You know what I'm saying?
How so?
Because she got that, she just strong willed.
Right.
Like a mom, I'm thinking she's so young, she's the youngest. And
because she's your baby girl.
Yeah, except for Adam.
So do you think that the oldest was more emotional because she was old enough to understand what came with that? Versus, an 8-year-old, you could tell a mommy's sick, but they don't really know how to comprehend the extent of something like a diagnosis of cancer. So do you think your 15-year-old at the time, it hit her a little more personal because obviously she's had more years with you. She's probably looking like, I'm 15 now, I'm looking at the future, the things that I dreamed about or imagined I would do with my mom. Do you think that's why she was a little bit more emotional? It's hard to tell.
I can say that she wasn't emotional because of her. That's her personality.
Okay.
And like you said, because she was older, she probably understood that, hey, she's telling me she has cancer. One, she's gonna go through with the treatment. Two, I know she's introduced me to God. So number 3 is probably a little bit, but she got it. God's got it. So But the little one, even though that's how I feel, like this little girl gotta go through her mama battling cancer. God, that's not fair. Dang. Especially just what I've been through in life. Period. And, a lot of people we go through things, but the amount of, when something's like, okay, dang, you keep getting me the harder and harder, tribulations look there. I mean, you keep giving me like harder and harder tribulations. How much can I bear? Well, God knows. So with the 8-year-old, she had already, she came home to me crying one day because one of her classmates' mother did die of breast cancer, like probably a couple years before I came down. But she's always been an emotional, caring, and helpful. Kind of
very intuitive. Very intuitive.
So that's why I know, that I thought that's one of the reasons I thought that she would break down because. Hey, the dude I just told you about, his mom, passed away from cancer. But.
So, when you told them, of course, what I was hearing was you just wanted to affirm and reaffirm your presence, that nothing was going to change. Even though you did that, did the dynamics of you guys' relationship change? Did it go stronger? Was there withdrawal? What happened?
Like I said, they're 7 years apart. So, and I said my oldest teared up a little bit, and the youngest, I don't remember her crying. And to this day, if she cries or anything, I won't see her most of the time crying. She'll tell me about it later on.
Yeah.
Mama, I was in there crying because I thought about you, and I saw this and that, and that made me think about you. And so, it didn't change the way that they are. It didn't change me, and it didn't change my baby.
So things just stay consistent.
That's and good. I'm a strong person, sometimes funny, sometimes not. I got my oldest. For her to be a people person and funny, from time to time she may be, but the little one is just like me. Funny, sometimes really funny, and sometimes not. But it change.
Good.
I don't think as far as they know anyway.
Right.
By myself and God.
Right.
I was.
Yeah.
You know.
So you kept some journeys personal.
Exactly.
Got you. Now, is cancer hereditary in your family? Is it something that was discussed in your household growing up, amongst your family members? Do you recall?
I just recently, got back in touch with my paternal side of my family, which they do come to find out, and that's what 2015. So that's five years ago.
Right.
That I got back in touch with them. But my maternal side, my mother's side, is all I knew all my life. And with that being said, knew them all my life. I didn't have any cancer.
Right.
Or anything on that side of the family. So that's, I'm good getting with God like that.
Right.
Like, how? Why me here? Dang, I had enough. And so I didn't have any cancer on that side. And so far, myeloma is not hereditary, but what it does say is that it can jump generations.
Yeah.
Jump over generations and all of a sudden show up again. And so, also with me getting back in touch with my paternal side, they do have a lot of cancer on their side, but it's lung, other organs.
Not cancer nonetheless.
Yes, nonetheless.
Yeah. You know what? And I asked that question because, if you come from a family, like I know breast cancer runs in my family, I know sarcoidosis runs in my family, diabetes, things of that nature. And so it's kind of like, if you go and get this diagnosis, you're not hit left field. You're like, okay, this kind of runs in my family. It runs on both sides. So, it's shocking, but at the same time, I'm like, I knew there was possibly a chance. That's what would go through my head. But with you saying there was no, trace of cancer with your maternal side, it would hit you like, what are you talking about? Cancer. So that discovery from your paternal side is like, kind of gives you that, okay, yeah.
But taking into account, that was in 2012 when I was diagnosed. That was 2015,
Oh, so it took 3 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all that time in those 3 years, were you confused? Were you angry? Were you just like, where is this coming from? Is it something I did to deserve this diagnosis? Did you go through that mental battle?
And I know I did things, I'm not perfect. We all done things.
Yeah.
Ain't no sin greater than the other, all of that. And so, I did think, I did think that after, having a diagnosis and going through, I was owed that, from God. Like, it wasn't no why I need this or that.
You thought it was judgment.
Yes. And I mean, I know that I can't point the finger and say anything like, why me or why not me? At first that's how it was, why me? Why?
You just took the responsibility.
Exactly. Especially when I didn't know whether or not it ran in my family, like you said. I did think, hey, we'll tell you.
Right. And you know what? It's so interesting that you say that because so many people are going through that. And they're going through guilt. They're taking on that burden and saying, this is my judgment. I deserve this. I've done things in life. I may have hurt people. I've done things that I know God wouldn't be pleased. So this is getting me. He's getting me now. He's punishing me. And it's such a misconception of who God is because he's a loving Father. And he's not sitting up in heaven just waiting to chastise you. Of course, we know he chastises his children because he loves us, right? But it's almost like, a lot of people who get diagnoses or get in accidents or, whatever it may be, it don't have to be cancer or a sickness. When devastating or travesty happens, they tend to put it on themselves like, oh, I must have done something to deserve this. When it's like, you know what? You don't choose the test, right?
Right.
When you're in school and the teacher gives you a test, you don't get to pick the questions. You don't get to pick what's going to be easy for you. He gives his strongest battles to his strongest soldiers. So obviously he knew what I put in Telly. She was equipped to deal with what she's going through right now. And sometimes he allows things, in our lives so it can draw us closer to you, to him. And so I was listening to you a second ago and you were saying, obviously my relationship with God is a lot closer. And sometimes he'll shake our lives, so we can turn back to him and put our focus where it needs to be. Yeah. And you know what? And I know there are some people out here who may have a diagnosis of cancer, or they're dealing with family members or spouses or parents or whatever it is, friends who have a diagnosis, and they may be listening to them on a daily basis like, I deserve this, I did this. And I just want to encourage you, just like Telly is saying right now, it doesn't mean that. Exactly. It doesn't mean that, and you get over that mental hurdle. Now, I do want to ask you, this journey has begun. You now have myeloma. You've talked to your children, and you said the chemo and radiation started really fairly quickly, in about a month. So what was that like? Your first chemo treatment, going into it. What was it like mentally and emotionally, physically, spiritually? Did you go in prepared? Like, was it your expectations? What was that like?
Going into radiation, which was first, was kind of like, how can I say it? I want to say my snap to it, or come out of this zone that I'm in, that I got this.
This is reality.
This is reality.
Yeah.
So honey, on that table, getting radiation, I might have went about 2 weeks then, and maybe about a few days in, laying on that table, and they give you this pill, you're not gonna feel nothing.
Right.
It's not gonna hurt.
Right.
Only takes a few minutes and you out. For the rest of those days that I had to go in. And so 2 days in, laying there and knowing, you see these big old machines looking around.
Was that scary?
I began to feel it.
Yeah.
I began to feel the tears. And I began to feel just kind of like, overwhelmed, like this is real.
Wow.
And so then the radiation. And with my cancer, I didn't have to have those chemo that everybody gets or whatever right away till my second, but I wouldn't say my second bout with it. I would say we're trying to get it into remission.
Right.
When I had the second, when I had to have chemo, which is in a bone marrow transplant. But the radiation, like I said, that's when it kicked in. And there's 3 things that you'll have, they said, for the most part, doctors say, internet says, whoever says, you're going to have either all 3 or 1 or 2 or something. But it's radiation, surgery, and chemo.
Right. Now, what's the difference between the 3 for those who don't know?
Okay, radiation is where they radiate the body part or area where the cancer is, and use radiation that's a little bit stronger than a regular X-ray to shrink the tumors or whatever. And then most time when they shrink them, and I think it's with stuff like breast cancer too, I think they radiate surgery than chemo. Or like I said, I haven't been through it, but I know, some...
With the possibility of a regeneration.
Yeah.
And even with surgery, removing the cancerous tumor, there, in the healing process, it's not a guarantee that
it's out of there.
Yeah.
So they do that surgery, then they do the chemo, like you said, to get anything that's maybe left behind. That you figure, they ain't radiation, they get it.
Right.
Y'all could have took this whole arm,
Right.
I'm just saying, worry about what all, you didn't get enough.
Or it's spreading.
Yes.
And I just want to interject for a second because my grandmother had breast cancer. And that happened to her. They went in, they did the surgery, they took the cancerous tumor, and when she went back for a follow-up, it had spread. And that's why a lot of times people are iffy about even letting them remove a cancerous tumor, because when you bother it, or like my uncle's stepdad says, leave me alone, and it just has a reaction. And most of the time, that's even more deadly. But I know for my grandmother, you know, when she saw that it spread, she's like, just take the breast, you know.
Or you see get it out.
Right. At least we'll know we got everything, and we don't have to worry about that spreading. Was that the case for you?
I mean, I wanted them to end the surgery. They was hoping. That's why it's first called plasmacytoma before it's multiple myeloma.
Now, what's plasmacytoma?
Plasmacytoma is when they find just one tumor in the whole body. And like I said, I thought it was my heart, so the one tumor was on my breastbone.
Okay.
Which ultimately, the surgery part is where they took my whole breastbone. I don't have a sternum, breastbone, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same. But they took that, some of my collarbone, and some of my ribs, you know, when they cut out around. You know, to try to make sure.
It seems like a lot.
Yes, to try to make sure they got everything just in the surgery. Then, you know, you get checked, like you said, your grandmother or every family member that you mentioned. Get checked a few months later, weeks or whatever, and to see did we get it all. And so, of course, if they didn't get it all, is when it continues on to multiple myeloma.
Right.
Or because the multiple myeloma too, like you said, was the plasmacytoma. Also, the multiple myeloma is cancer of my bone marrow. That's in my blood and in between. You know, so it creates tumors in your bone. You know, so that bone, my sternum, which I told you about a year, I had already complained about the pain. Had basically, by the time they did the biopsy, ate it all up. When they looked at it, did the biopsy, it was mostly cancer. Wasn't even hardly any bone left anyway. So, and then the chemo part, you asked about that too. That's when I did like a year later, what is called bone marrow transplant. So,
and you know what? I think it's so realistic that you would say, you know, the initial reaction of learning I have cancer was you took it in stride. But the moment you walk into that radiation, reality sets in, like, this is really what I got. And the journey ahead is so uncertain. You know what I mean? And going through surgeries and radiation and chemo, it has very devastating side effects. What are some of those side effects or symptoms that you experienced yourself?
Radiation, like you said, you don't feel it or you don't see it. And they say it doesn't burn, but it does something, because when I had it on my chest, my whole chest was almost jet black in the area where they, you know, I received the radiation. And over time, it lightened back up to by close enough to my skin tone. So that did, you know, that was the effect of the radiation. The surgery, it was a trip. Like you said, girl, so cool. The doctor, like, they didn't know how to say it.
Right.
But they like, man, she ain't like,
this is nothing.
Yeah. You know, when they would talk to me, then they'd be like, do you have any family that? I'm like, that's not my father. My folks who come here and listen, y'all tell me what's going to go on. I let them know, hey, they say it's going to be real tough surgery, you know. So anyway, the surgery, which lasted about 12 plus hours. First they had me at like 4 hours, you know, telling me how long it was going to be. Because I initially had 3 doctors. I had a thoracic surgeon, which is thoracic, just chest area, who had the, you know, I think the thoracic surgeon is the one who knows, I guess, what to cut and how deep to cut and where not to cut, because he knows about the chest. The cancer doctor was in because he got to look in and say, oh, no, they look like cancer. That's still something, get some, you know, and a plastic surgeon. And that was for all the rods and everything. Because my ribs in there like this now, you know. So they had to put all kind of mechanisms here just to hold it in place together. And try to give me a makeshift bone or whatever for.
So your chest will be caved in.
Exactly. And that was something else. I had to relearn kind of how to hold your posture. Don't have it hold myself up and have to practice, trying to sit up or whatever. But like I said, the radiation, reality, laying on the table, and
Right.
the burn mark, the surgery it didn't come to me. Matter of fact, I told my sister, bring some lashes up here.
Yeah.
Because when I come out of surgery, I figured these were the ones I went in with.
Right.
Wasn't gonna probably be hitting on that. I'm bring some more. Honey, I came out. Well, I didn't come out with you. That, like I said, the surgery was extensive and long. That was the next day before I came out of when they put you on it.
Out of anesthesia.
Anesthesia and also on a ventilator, breathing machine or whatever. Honey, I woke up and I seen the window where the daylight was from outside of the bed. I was facing the window. And I knew it was the next day. I know I went in there at 8 in the morning. Hey, I knew I've been out for a minute.
Right.
Knowing what I had been through. So I know it's not the same day. And then when I seen it was the next day, I knew, oh yeah. Finally, I knew this was serious.
Right. So it took that for it to really, really hit. Because I know you said laying on the table, reality set in, and that was tearful. But coming out of the surgery, and knowing, okay, it's time for recovery and more journey.
Exactly.
Because I still don't know, or they still don't know even, if all of this is gone. Basically you're kind of hanging in the balance, right? And so that's gotta be just, it's one of those things where you'd rather know so you can deal with that than waiting for the unknown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I never thought of it that way. But that is, I'd rather know what I'm going to and let's go into it instead of guessing games
and waiting. Yeah.
And I said that surgery, it really clicked in that, hey, this is serious. But like I said, my faith in God, because it wasn't just me being cool and, I'm telling you, I'm over it. Do what y'all got to do.
Right.
It was God a long time with him.
Carrying you.
Carrying me. I was talk that nobody else heard.
Right.
Me have with God, but God. That's not somebody I talk to about certain things. So I really like starting out. Or now I'm gonna say after my radiation, because during radiation I was still working, but I believe I took off. At that time, just for the 2 weeks to get it and just be able to go home. I didn't want to take it and go back to work. Some people just take it and go to work.
Right.
And I had been doing treatment up until then, or after, was it? Maybe after, because the radiation was just like that. But afterwards, I remember every day after the radiation going back to work and ironing my uniform. And boy, that was waking upon the day to talk with God. And if you talk to him some more during the day, and at the end of the day, you a real good Christian. Right. You got two try to run back to God. We ain't got a whole lot of time. I'm just gonna go on and sleep. I ain't got much time. I got some errands to run on my break. And we should be talking to God just like I'm taking about a minute to reverence him. But like I said, this was my own journey with him. Starting out, and I was just 37. I already told God from being a PK kid or whatever that I wasn't gonna get serious with him all the way till I turned 50. And here I am, 45, still got 5 years to my plan. God, that ain't God's plan. So 37.
So he rigged that.
He rigged that at age 37. So I'm good, God. I'm just out good.
Now, Telly, like I said in the beginning, I told y'all that she was always the it girl, right? And to me, she still is the it girl. When she showed up today and I saw her mask and she was just, I was like, see, this is what I'm talking about, and I just love her for that because she's so consistent across the board. Now, dealing with all the ramifications of surgery and your body is changing, you're going through this process, this long journey of chemo and all of these things. did your view of yourself change? Because sometimes it can affect your self-esteem. So did it affect how you looked at yourself, and did it affect how others viewed you?
That didn't happen till I got home from the surgery. Like I got home, and of course they let me know I was gonna need physical therapy.
Right.
Matter of fact, before I went home, I had to go into inpatient therapy. So after the hospital stayed for the healing of, of my body enough for them to send me home, they thought, the nurses, some of the nurses or social workers there thought, okay, she's young, she can go. You got 7-year-old, 8-year-old people need to come in here and get some open heart surgery.
Right.
You need to bed.
Put your own out the way.
Yeah, she gonna be the first to go. That's
Right.
how I felt.
Right.
And of course, I had to go through insurance and all that to, hey, this lady is tripping. So, cause like you said, I'm kind of strong, so I'm like, if I don't feel like this, I can go home. I can't.
Right.
So I did do inpatient, physical therapy. You don't go home, you just there and they,
Right.
working your body and try to get you well enough to
Right.
go home
To go
have
home.
a little strength, but you just
Absolutely.
have somebody visit you.
Rehab.
So once I got back home, that's when it kicked in, my appearance, because my appearance was bad and stuff after, but I expect a little bit.
Right.
But I did, probably, it was somewhere in a whole lot of mixed feelings, in the hospital, smoles into the restroom, the bathe, and use the restroom like an old lady. That's kind of was there, but I expected a little something.
Right. I mean, especially first out of surgery.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So once I got home, my appearance, which was maybe almost like a month and a half out from everything, you kind of had me a little bit messed up, and my self-esteem, which has been way like through the roof, baby, it was just about through the bottom of the floor, and it was really low. Now, in life, I never thought that my self-esteem would be that anything can bring it that low.
Right.
So yes, my appearance and my self-esteem after the surgery, I got home and could look and go to the mirror at any time, and my physical ability to move around, like I said, young woman in her 30s, that messed me up, and having to have help, ask for help. I'm not, gonna do that. I came back, I'm sweeping, the best I could.
Right.
I'm like, you don't put that broom down.
Right.
The nurse come out, oh, your heart rate is up a little, your blood pressure. I said, oh, I was sleeping. And she was like, are you serious? And I'm like, man, I got to do something. I got to get Telly back,
So it was a very humbling experience for you.
It was kind of motivated me too.
To not stay there.
Yes, because if I stayed there and just try, just worry about, when they come, they're gonna help me, if I stayed there, my self-esteem was already low, I told you. So if I stayed there and just allowed everything to manifest and me not help myself and me not depend on God that He's gonna give me the strength, then of course, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say, and I was a bit depressed. I always say about depression, get depressed, but don't stay depressed.
Right.
I always
work your way out of it.
Because we as blacks, we as African Americans, a lot of times we don't talk about that in household as far as depression or how you feeling in your mental. And so, get depressed, but don't stay depressed.
Right.
Like I said, this is where I'm at, but I'm not gonna stay here. I mean, if I don't do nothing, especially because sometimes those therapists gonna come out to 7, 8 o'clock at night. So you tell me to sit up and I guess watch TV and have
do nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Right,
so I'm
right.
like, shoot.
And you know what? That'll push you further into depression,
Exactly.
especially when you're just looking at, you're feeling sorry for yourself. You're looking at your appearance and you're like, this is not me. I'm needing all this extra help. I don't want to be dependent. you know, I have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me. You know, you're going through all of that, and that can be very rough. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have a moment, you know, where you felt like you wanted to give up? What was the glue that held you together?
It wasn't that. It has never been a point, even to this day. I'm going through treatment once again, so you know, I just say, hey, I listen to what the doctors tell me, and I listen to what God says, and I listen to what Telly says, and you know, at the end of the day, I'm still going through the treatment. So
right.
If I can tell you I gave up any time long time ago, then I wouldn't be here, you know, living with this thing. But I never gave up, even though at the time I was dating, and on top of going through something so serious, was dating someone that wasn't lifting me up like I thought it should be. Right. So, with that being said, I never wanted to give up on me, on cancer, on living my life. But if you're dealing with your significant, supposedly other, or maybe going to be one day other, that's not, you know, holding you, you know, at the same time, that kind of had me depressed.
It's hurtful. Yeah.
More so, you know, more so what I was going through had me hurtful, and still I didn't want to give up on what I had going on with myself. But I knew I was going to give up on him, but I didn't want to let that give up transfer, you know, over and just take me out of it.
Right.
You know, I can't do this no more. You know,
right. And you know what? Just when you're before the diagnosis, you know, after the diagnosis, you really, like you said, you didn't recognize yourself. You're going through all these changes, and you're somewhat going through a type of metamorphosis. And so you're forced to change inwardly and outwardly because your priorities change, your perception changes. What you consider important is a new category. You know, your significant other now just becomes other. You know you get what I'm saying? Your values change. What you spend your time on changes because you've gone through this big, you know, metamorphosis in life. Now, what was the biggest changes for you inside and outside?
Outside, the biggest change, or the only change, or whatever, I just looked and saw something different in the mirror. But I've never been one on looks anyway. Right. But people would approach me about my looks, and I'm like,
I told you.
And all the time, and I'm like, it's not about looks. And I've been even like that before, you know, cancer and anything, but I always tell people, looks don't pay no bills. That's my favorite saying. Looks don't give you a longer life. People would approach me and say, oh, you're so pretty, you must just have it. Life must just be so good for you. No. Life is like normal like anybody else. Right. And so even those people, I wish I could go back and show them pictures. Man, you want to talk about some look at this.
It doesn't guarantee health.
Exactly. Yeah. So look at this. And my appearance, you know, like I said, looking in the mirror or whatever was the only thing when it came to my appearance. And then you said the other one was my mental, right?
Yeah, just inside.
Inside. Like I say, that heart that I thought was giving up on me was my heart did change a lot. I became really sensitive to like people that's really before. What's the matter about it, Zanya? Before I was diagnosed with cancer, I never thought about cancer. People who had, like, say, if it could be a family member, somebody close, they have breast cancer. Oh, I'm praying. And I don't know that no more, but you know, people say that and they just say it.
Yeah, they just say it and they're going on. Yeah.
And baby, if I say I'm praying, best believe I have prayed.
Right.
When I said, Lord, be with so-and-so and come from right now. That's my prayer. Then I'm praying or I pray. But people just say, I'm praying, so it's kind of, I hate to admit it.
No, it's the truth.
But that's kind
And
of
you know what? We've all been guilty of it. Because sometimes it just comes out because it sounds like the right thing to say. Right? And so we say that and not that we're lying. No. We mean well when we say it. But until we've gone through a situation like what you're going through right now, we don't really grasp, the importance of saying, I'm going to pray for you. You know what I mean? Because it hasn't hit you personally. Exactly. It hasn't hit you personally. And so it changes. You know what I mean? Now when you say, I'm going to pray for you, you mean it because you're like, you know what, I know what that feels like.
Exactly. And I never thought about anyone with cancer. And there's kind of something in my head. Now, I'm a babe, so I know better. I always say, I'm not the smartest person, but I also ain't the dumbest. That's what I always say, in the world or whatever. But I also thought, cancer, like you said, I didn't have it in the family. And I'm like, I've been a healthy person all this time. I'm thinking, people have to be born with something wrong to have cancer. At 37 years old, come on, tell that was your thought? Because I've never thought about cancer before that. Never even thought about, even if somebody says, your aunt has breast cancer. Dang, how she get that? She got breast cancer. What they got to do? And I'm praying.
Right. And you just going about your business.
Yeah. Like you said, until you experience it, until you, in those same shoes.
Absolutely.
Then, and not even just cancer, a whole lot of serious things in life. Until you put in that situation, you're like, you mean tell me just how I've been all my life, how can I say selfish?
Out of tune.
Baby, you hit it right on the note, the nail on the head. It was selfish a little bit, but out of tune.
Yeah.
Very way out of tune. So,
I mean, it's human nature to be self-centered anyway. It's just the way that we're designed. And so you're always thinking about yourself and what you need and what you need from others and what you deserve. And it's like until you get in a humbling place, like where you've been, then can you start seeing your perspective broadens. Now you're looking to the left or right. You're looking ahead, you're looking to the back. It's not, you see things different. You have a new set of lenses. And it's because of your experiences. Now, Telly, now that you've gone through this journey and you're still on it, what have you done to raise awareness for others and to educate others about myeloma?
Well, I've joined, and I'm trying to remember how did I find out about this. It's called Be the Match. A lot of times when I first mention it to people, oh, you talking about Match.com, the relationship thing, and I'm like, no, Lord, you don't know, right? With the last one I had, no relationship. But BeTheMatch.com is where you can go to donate bone marrow, for
and I heard that's so painful.
And see,
I researched it. I'm not gonna lie, and then it made me think about the movie 7 Pounds with Will Smith, and when he was going through that process of donating bone marrow, and that's what made me research it in the first place. Because I was like, what is that for? So it was years ago, but when I read up on it some more, I was like, God, that is painful.
Yes, and I'm with you. I never did it, and I had chances to do it before being diagnosed because I go to Essence Fest, mostly every year, which is in New Orleans, and they have a table out for that all the time. But in New Orleans, you feel like that stuff, you get a free umbrella for $50 to do that.
And most of the times you just pass by the table, you just wave or be polite and speak and just keep walking. But now your eyes catch that.
And never thought I needed or needing help from Be the Match. What is that if I would never have to experience this? But what I do with them is volunteer at different things. I volunteer at Kwanzaa Fest, anything for one that's dealing with African Americans. Because like you said, you heard it's painful, and that's what all African Americans do. Right. And as far as Be the Match, the statistics is that your match has to be within your race. And I know, I believe that's how it has to be, because when I go to Kwanzaa Fest, African American.
Kwanzaa Fest is great.
Yeah.
I get all my teas because they give away a lot of free tea.
Yeah, so exactly, see?
Yeah, I get all my big, like I have my little bag.
Little giveaways,
and I'm telling you, I fill that bag up with teas and whatever I need, whatever sickness I have, I'm working those teas, like, for everything.
Same way I am.
Yeah.
But, so that's why I volunteered. Then when I was still working, I used to, since I was one that would help do that, I could, I had like a coordinator. I would call him and let him know, hey, I'm gonna get back with you on one thing I mentioned earlier. Bring folks into my job to have folks sign up. And like I said, I would try to get mainly African American, but if any other race applies or sign up is good. But if I'm African American, then if I need, any non-American, then I'm gonna have to go searching for this African American,
right?
Because we don't have enough on the registry, within our race. So I do that. Like I said, volunteer Kwanzaa Fest, had them come out to my job a few times, and I think that's it as far as me helping.
And educating.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes the biggest help is just availing yourself as a volunteer. Because you go to a land, and I used to volunteer a lot. And actually, I used to give plasma all the time. And for the first couple of years, I would do it because I would do it right after college. While I was in college, extra money or, some money. And it was just for the money at first. But then when I got older and I started seeing what it was used for, and I was like, man, you really are saving lives, and I don't think enough people look at it in that perspective.
No.
But even just, if you're not donating plasma, if you're not donating bone marrow, if you're not giving a kidney or anything like that, avail yourself, for volunteer work. Don't just pass by the table next time. Look at the pamphlet. See how can I avail myself to be a help, if I don't want to give up something of myself. It's still something that you can do. Now, Telly, I know when we spoke and you were first telling me about, multiple myeloma, you were saying there's not a cure, Zanya. It's something that can be managed the rest of your life, but there's no cure. Now, how do you receive that or believe that for yourself?
I believe it. First of all, they say there's no cure, but there are times that you can go into remission, which to me means you cured, right?
Or you're living without it.
Yeah, exactly. So I know some people who, myself, has went into remission, but I come back out of it, and now I'm dealing with the myeloma, chemo and stuff right now, or I've never come off of it, but I did go to remission, like taking a little dose of chemo or something like that, or I know what I mean, like I said, the man who helped me, my coordinator, he went into remission, got a bone marrow transplant, and that was over 20-something years ago, and it has never returned for him. And he has a leukemia, because leukemia and myeloma is kind of, one and the same. Bone marrow and blood, chemo is up, leukemia is of the blood, cancer of the blood. But anyway, also my faith in God, really decides if I'm going to go into remission and if I'm going to stay. And I talk to him quite often, because I said this started my relationship with him for my own experience with God. So my relationship with him, even when I praise him in the good, I praise him in the bad. So even when I'm in remission, I have been in remission, and now I'm like dealing with myeloma, I talk to God. And God hasn't prepared me for death. So if he hasn't prepared me and I'm talking to him, then I know, hey, What you got? I told you the other day, honey, if they had a bottle of radiation, I buy it and be drinking it. That's just how, like I said, I know I've been through radiation. I know I've been through the worst of the surgery. So I know that God is a healer.
Right.
And like you said earlier, He gives His strongest battles, to strong folks.
Right.
If He know you're not that strong, then He might give you a little lesser, situation or whatever. Or if He know He's gonna give me, like I said, God will give me what He knows that I can bear.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna give it to me, and He hasn't prepared me for death. So I believe, I can live with myeloma, cause God ain't said I can't.
Right.
Or when I'm in remission, woo, thank God.
Right.
But everything just through God, myself, being a stronger person, and like I said, God, guys, He's blessed me to have. So far from what I believe, I'm a believer in God, I'm a believer in Christ, and He's given me doctors. I mean, I done dealt with plenty of doctors, baby. I can't even count how many on my hand, your two hands, how many doctors I have dealt with. So, with that being said, I don't think I've come across one that doesn't believe in God. Because I'm going to say it. You know how they say in healthcare, the doctor dealing with me or me dealing with the doctor. Either of us is not supposed to mention anything that's got to do with religion. Well, if I say thank God, and they say, I know that's right, but hey, He didn't really say it. Or I heard doctors who tell me, well, I'm this and that, or God will see you through. Hey, we're not supposed to be talking about that, but God has given me that.
To other believers.
Yes, so God know me, I know Him, and like I said, He ain't prepared me for death, He prepared me for life. And every time like with this battle, I've only been going through it now maybe 3 weeks. I had like 2 weeks of radiation, and now I'm on like my 2nd week of this chemo pill that they're giving, shot that they're giving me. And even in that time, He's been preparing me for other things. So I know I can't, the things He's been preparing me for, I know I can't do dead. So I'm like, baby, we're going to go on and get this over with. Because I got something else to do, okay? And I'll tell them in a minute. What I got got time for that. What else I got time? But I got all the time in the world. But if they saying something, I thought y'all was going to do this or that. Y'all said, you at 3. Yeah, man, we said 3:30. Damn, man, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got nothing to do, but guess what? God got something else for me to do. And He brewing it up in me, and it's manifesting. So when I be saying I got time for that, we need to go on and get this on, because God has got me fast and forward,
And you know what? You're such a light and testimony to so many other people who are watching this, and they're like, you know what? I don't even have cancer. I have a perfect bill of health, and I still don't have her attitude. I still don't have her perspective on life. This woman has every reason to feel sorry for herself, to be down in the dumps, to stay at the level of depression we were talking about earlier, to look at her life like it's doom and gloom, but you're still so very vibrant, so very zealous. And that brings about conviction sometimes, because it makes you repent and say, God, forgive me for not being appreciative for life, for not being grateful for the little things. The fact that I don't have to go to chemo, I don't have to worry about radiation, I don't have to worry about thinking, I wish they sold about radiation, I drink it right. You know what I mean? But just our relationship that has been built over the years, and every time we speak, it's like no matter what she's going through, you're always the same. Always cool, always positive, not letting anything get to you. You're not harping on the negative. You're not. But she never had a sad song about her cancer. It was just always, this is just what it is. And girl, I'm going on. And it was just like, man, the moment that you want to feel sorry, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna feel sorry for her because she's alright. She's okay. And so I love that you are exuding that positivity that you are emulating that light, because it shows great faith. It shows that no matter what, I'm not going to let facts shape my truth. And the truth is what God says about me. Facts is what doctors say. Yes, it's a fact I have myeloma. It's a fact I'm doing radiation. It's a fact I'm going through chemo. It's a fact that the doctors say this is incurable. But the truth is, let the weak say I'm strong. Let the poor say I'm rich. Let the sick say I'm healed. Whatever it is that you're going through, let the chaos say I have peace. Let depression say, you know what? I'm at peace. I'm good.
You got to move.
I have joy unspeakable, and you live that. You sincerely live it every day. And I'm not just saying it because you're sitting right here across from me. I'm saying it to encourage some of you out there that's watching. It's okay to have what they say you have, but you don't have to let it have you. And I said that earlier because, and we're about to wrap up, but I hear a lot of times, especially on commercials, and you see it on pamphlets, especially when I see things about St. Jude or on the internet, they say things like, I have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me. What is your take on that?
I have cancer doesn't have me. Like you mentioned, I don't know if this is the best answer, but like you mentioned, St. Jude, watching the children. When I was first diagnosed or during diagnosis, whenever it was, seeing those commercials, or sometimes, and then another thing too, with my cancer, it's I don't follow in the statistics for the reasons to have it. I don't know if I'm using the right words, but like it's in the older people, mostly in men, mostly in obese people.
Right.
So
So you don't think the status quo?
Exactly, for the disease. Yeah. But seeing those children on St. Jude, and once I got into UT Southwestern is when I would see younger people at those appointments, like it was going through what I was going through. I said, Lord, why am I crying? Woe is me, dragging around. Like you said, I got cancer. Just seeing them babies made me know I have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me. Because if they could go through it and smile and do the commercials
and be so strong,
those children, a lot of them is at talking age. I know they have, because you have some children, may not even be one that's going through cancer. May not even be one, may not even be two that's going through, they can't really talk. But for the ones that can, 5, 6-year-olds, I don't know, up to maybe teens that have, cancers, different cancers, I'm like, Lord, like you said, if they can smile through these commercials, they walk around at the thing, come in. One of them the other day, he had like a whole, patch of hair shaved. I guess maybe that's where he was getting his radiation or whatever. Probably told him he had to have that done. And I also seen the scar, so he probably had some kind of surgery. But looking at them makes me believe that I have cancer, but it doesn't have me. Because the way they go through it and smile, he had balloons, and I think his birthday, maybe his birthday, or he was a superhero, just because. But that's what made me warm up.
Right.
Made me man up, made me say, shh, baby, put on this thing, we gonna go to work.
Right.
I'm in this fight, God in this fight, we gonna fight. And a fight, sometimes win, lose, or draw. We all winners, but we all, got it going on. Ain't nobody a loser. So, just, like I said, I don't know if that answers your question, but I have cancer and don't have me because I can see them babies go through it and say the same thing. And I know if they can see it, I can see it, I can feel it, and I can believe it.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? None of us are exempt from the wiles of life, whether it's a diagnosis, whether it's sudden death, a tragedy, loss of a job, whatever it is, she is a prime example of it's not what happens to you, it's how you walk through it. And if you took nothing else from Telly's story, take that. Just be encouraged, be lifted, trust in God, have faith in Him, and don't lose your zeal for life. You may have a moment of depression, like you said, but that don't mean you have to stay there. That doesn't mean you have to stay there. I so appreciate you for being here, Telly, for taking your time, for coming to talk with me, for educating me and educating others, for encouraging them, for uplifting them. And before we close out, I just want you to give one last encouraging word to those who may be watching. They may have just gotten a diagnosis. They may have, pain in their body where they're saying, you know what, I'm starting to feel that too. Cancer runs in my family, or I don't know if it runs in my family, but I got this diagnosis. You know what, I'm going through radiation, I feel depressed. I can't get myself back. I don't recognize myself in the mirror. How do you keep trucking and going and still keep this good attitude? You went through remission, now you're back in treatment. Oh my God, it's never gonna. I mean, there are so many layers to people that are watching right now, and I just want you to give an encouraging word to them, just to keep going.
That's like you said. My words to you are to keep going. Know that everybody's struggle or fight is going to be different.
Right.
There's no, I doubt if there's any cancer battles, diabetic, high blood pressure, or anything that's, where everybody's the same, everybody's different.
Right.
And like we mentioned, or I mentioned earlier, depression comes with being diagnosed with a disease, especially a disease that could be deadly.
Right.
Some people hear cancer and automatically they do die. Some people hear cancer and automatically think they're going to die and don't die.
They said it's a death sentence.
Exactly. And it's not. I know when I was telling some people, they did think it was a death sentence, but it's not. Just trust in God and really go to God. When you have something like that come about, where you already should be close to God anyway. But for us, that's taking a little time to get close. You don't get closer now, but when you have something serious like that go on, then you really won't even have any doubt, because you already know your God.
Yeah.
And so, I know God, I know Him to be a healer, I know Him to, when you start talking to God, He talks back.
So true.
When I got diagnosed, I talked to God. And I sensed for my first time, I'm not just telling you guys, go to God, all because it sounds good or the faith thing.
Right.
I'm not saying that at all. But go to God, talk to Him, and He talks back. And you'll realize when He's talking. And when He's not talking, I guess a lot of, if I can hear the silence, He's not talking. It's time for me to talk. That's how I feel. If I can hear and feel the silence. But He'll start talking to me through people.
Right.
People you don't even know. So that's how I know God is real. So I say go to God, have faith that you'll get through it. Whether you like Zanya mentioned before, that some people don't take chemo and radiation and none of the treatment, and they live. Some die. But at the end of the day, I believe those people, whether taking treatment or not, they did go to God. Right. Or they did go to, I hope anyway, a higher being other than themselves. Mine is God.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I hope you guys received that word of encouragement. Thank you so much for pouring out your heart, for giving us all that you have, for even taking the time, to come here with your mask, with your patch. And I mean, she was ready, y'all. She was ready, and it's just such sweet-spirited, so vibrant, and just always so strong. So thank you even for being an encouragement to me. Listen, guys, thank you guys for tuning in. Every Wednesday we are right back here for another topic or another episode of What's the Issue Wednesday. We have another fresh topic next Wednesday with another very special guest. Tomorrow is Thursday, so you know that means it's Bible study. Come and walk the word with me so we can get fresh revelation from the Lord. And you know Thursday nights we just eat together. We're going to feast on the word. Again, thank you so much for joining me this evening. You guys have a blessed night, and we'll see you later.
My Redeemer, my Redeemer. Oh, my Redeemer.